Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. I have to say first off, wow, what the heck, Google Gemini? This picture you produced for the story is really disturbing. One other thing, it was supposed to be a woman hanging upside down. That is a man with two heads. Creepy. Short story 492, The Custard Caper of Chipping Puddlefoot, Intermediate. Geraldine Gerry Butterfield, a woman whose most daring act to date was accidentally buying full-fat milk, found herself in a pickle. Not a gherkin pickle, you understand, but a proper existential, how did I end up here pickle. She was currently upside down, suspended by one ankle from a surprisingly sturdy rose arch in Mrs. Higginbottom's prize-winning garden. Her spectacles thankfully remained perched on her nose, giving her a rather distinguished, if inverted, air. It all started, as most things do in Chipping Puddlefoot, with a bake sale. Specifically, the annual Chipping Puddlefoot Village Fete bake sale. The prize, a year's supply of jam from Sticky Fingers preserves. And, more importantly, bragging rights. This year, the stakes were higher than usual. Brenda Piffle, Jerry's nemesis, a strong word but accurate for village fete rivalries, had declared her intention to win with her secret recipe lemon drizzle. Gerry, a traditionalist, was sticking to her prize-winning, melt-in-the-mouth, perfectly wobbly custard tarts. The morning of the fete dawned bright and surprisingly un-British. Gerry, humming a cheerful tune, carefully placed her 6 golden tarts into her wicker basket. She'd spent hours perfecting the custard, ensuring it had just the right shimmer, the perfect hint of vanilla. She felt a surge of confidence. Brenda Piffle's lemon drizzle, while undoubtedly moist, lacked the gravitas of a good custard tart. Upon arrival at the village green, chaos, in the form of a rogue bouncy castle, was already underway. Children ricocheted off its inflatable walls like highly caffeinated ping-pong balls. Gerry navigated the throng, her basket clutched protectively. She found her spot next to a suspiciously large pumpkin and began to unpack. That's when she saw it, or rather, didn't see it. Her tarts, gone, vanished. The basket was empty, save for a single, incriminating crumb of what looked suspiciously like lemon drizzle. Gerry's jaw dropped. Theft! In Chipping Puddlefoot? This was unprecedented. Even the annual garden gnome disappearances were usually attributed to mischievous teenagers, not professional pastry pilferers. Her eyes narrowed. Brenda Piffle. It had to be. Who else would stoop so low and leave a lemon drizzle crumb as a calling card? The audacity! Fueled by righteous indignation and a sudden craving for a wobbly tart, Gerry set off on the hunt. She spotted Brenda's stall across the green. Brenda, resplendent in a floral apron, was preening over her lemon drizzle, which looked decidedly smug. Gerry approached, a storm cloud brewing over her sensible sandals. Brenda, Gerry began, her voice quivering with controlled fury, have you seen my custard tarts? Brenda, feigning innocence with the skill of a seasoned theatrical performer, fluttered her eyelashes. Your tarts, Gerry dear? Why, no. I'm far too busy ensuring my drizzle maintains its structural integrity. Gerry scoffed. I found a lemon drizzle crumb in my basket. Brenda's smile faltered for a microsecond. Coincidence, I'm sure. Perhaps you had some for breakfast, dear. Gerry knew she was lying, but how to prove it? Her eyes darted around. The judging was in an hour. She needed those tarts. Suddenly, a flash of gold caught her eye. Behind Brenda's stall, partially hidden by a stack of knitted tea cozies, was a large, suspiciously tart-shaped lump under a checkered cloth. Brenda glanced nervously in that direction. Bingo! Gerry, propelled by a surge of adrenaline usually reserved for escaping runaway supermarket trolleys, decided on a stealthy approach. She would circle around, innocently admire the giant pumpkin, and then pounce. Her plan, however, failed to account for two key factors: a poorly secured bunting pole and her own innate clumsiness. As she rounded the pumpkin, the bunting pole, loosened by a rogue gust of wind, chose that precise moment to detach. Gerry, attempting to avoid a collision, tripped over her own feet, flailed widely, and somehow managed to hook her ankle over the rose arch that marked the entrance to Mrs. Higginbottom's prize-winning garden. The elasticity of her tights, combined with the surprising strength of the rose arch, resulted in her current predicament. Suspended, upside down, with a prime view of Brenda Piffle's suspiciously lumpy tablecloth. Brenda, hearing the commotion, turned. Her eyes widened. "Gerry, what in the name of all that is holy are you doing?" "Retrieving my property, Brenda," Gerry shouted, her voice muffled by blood rushing to her head. "And frankly, I think your structural integrity is about to be compromised." Just then, Mrs. Higginbottom, a woman whose patience was as short as her temper was fiery, emerged from her shed, wielding a pair of formidable garden shears. "My roses! Who's desecrating my prize-winning roses?" Seeing Gerry hanging upside down, Mrs. Higginbottom's eyes narrowed further. "Geraldine Butterfield, get down from there this instant. You'll ruin the display." Brenda, seizing the opportunity, rushed forward. "She was trying to steal my lemon drizzle, Mrs. Higginbottom, a jealous rival." "Steal?" Gerry squawked, swinging slightly. "I was retrieving my custard tarts. They're under your tablecloth, Brenda Piffle, you fiend." At this accusation, a small, furry head poked out from under Brenda's tablecloth. It wasn't a tart. It was a rather plump, very sleepy badger, covered in custard and crumbs. Lots of crumbs. Brenda gasped. My lemon drizzle. It's been eaten." The badger, now fully awake and looking rather pleased with itself, burped delicately. A collective groan went up from the small crowd that had gathered. The mystery was solved. Not theft, but a furry, pastry-loving vandal. Gerry, now released from the rose arch by a flustered Mrs. Higginbottom, dusted herself off, a triumphant if slightly dishevelled smile on her face. "Well, Brenda," she said, her voice dripping with sweet vindication, "looks like the only thing compromised was your drizzle." The badger, having finished its unexpected feast, waddled off into the bushes, leaving behind a trail of custard-scented contentment. Gerry, despite her undignified display, felt a profound sense of satisfaction. Her tarts were gone. Yes, but justice, in the form of a very satisfied badger, had been served. And next year she'd be bringing a badger-proof picnic basket. Vocabulary notes. Pickle. Noun. Meaning a difficult or unpleasant situation. Example. Geraldine Gerry Butterfield found herself in a pickle. Not a gherkin pickle, you understand, but a proper existential "how did I end up here" pickle. Explanation. This is an informal way to describe trouble or a predicament. The story plays on the literal meaning of pickle, a preserved cucumber, to make a joke. Similar words. Predicament, a difficult, perplexing or trying situation. E.g., she was in a real predicament after losing her keys. Dilemma, a situation in which a difficult choice has to be made between two or more alternatives, especially ones that are equally undesirable. E.g., he faced a dilemma, either miss the meeting or upset his client. Quandary, a state of perplexity or uncertainty over what to do in a difficult situation. E.g., the sudden change in plans left them in a quandary. Scrape, informal, a difficult or embarrassing situation. E.g., he got into a bit of a scrape with the police. Daring, adjective, meaning, of a person or action, adventurous or audacious. Example, Geraldine Gerry Butterfield, a woman whose most daring act to date was accidentally buying full-fat milk. Explanation, this describes someone who is brave or takes risks. The humour in the example comes from contrasting Gerry's typical, unadventurous life with the word daring. Similar words, adventurous, willing to take risks or try out new methods, ideas, or experiences. E.g., she has an adventurous spirit and loves to travel. Audacious, showing a willingness to take surprisingly bold risks. E.g., it was an audacious attempt to cross the desert alone. Bold, of a person, action, or idea, showing a willingness to take risks, confident and courageous. E.g., she made a bold decision to change careers. Brave, ready to face or endure danger or pain, showing courage. E.g., it was a brave decision to speak out against injustice. Bragging rights, noun phrase, meaning the right to boast or show off about something one has done or won. Example, the prize, a year's supply of jam, and more importantly, bragging rights. Explanation, this refers to the informal right to boast or talk proudly about an achievement, often in a friendly competitive context. Similar phrases, to gloat, to dwell on one's own success or another's misfortune with smugness or malignant pleasure. E.g., he couldn't help but gloat over his victory. To boast, show off, to talk with excessive pride and self-satisfaction about one's achievements, possessions or abilities. E.g., she was always showing off her new car. To crow about, to talk proudly about something, especially in a way that annoys other people. E.g., he's still crowing about winning the lottery. Nemesis, noun, meaning a long-standing rival, an arch-enemy. Example, Brenda Piffle, Gerry's nemesis, a strong word but accurate for village fete rivalries. Explanation, this is a strong word for an enemy or rival, often someone who consistently causes problems or competition. Similar words, rival, a person or thing competing with another for the same objective or superiority. E.g., she was my fiercest rival in the competition. Adversary, one's opponent in a contest, conflict, or dispute. E.g., he was a formidable adversary on the chessboard. Opponent, someone who competes with or fights another in a contest, game, or argument. A rival, e.g., her opponent was a much more experienced player. Arch-enemy, the chief enemy of someone or something. E.g., Batman's arch-enemy is the Joker. Gravitas, noun, meaning dignity, seriousness, or solemnity of manner. Example, Brenda Piffle's lemon drizzle, while undoubtedly moist, lacked the gravitas of a good custard tart. Explanation, often used to describe a serious and respectable quality. Here it's used humorously to describe a quality of a pastry, suggesting it has a certain importance or weight. Similar words, dignity, the state or quality of being worthy of honour or respect. E.g., she always carried herself with great dignity. Solemnity, the state or quality of being serious and dignified. E.g., the solemnity of the occasion was felt by everyone. Seriousness, the quality or state of being serious. E.g., he approached his studies with great seriousness. Rogue, adjective, meaning of an elephant or other large wild animal, living apart from the herd and having a savage or destructive disposition, by extension, behaving in ways that are not normal or expected, often causing trouble. Example, upon arrival at the village green, chaos in the form of a rogue bouncy castle was already underway. Explanation, in this context, rogue means something that is out of control, unpredictable and causing problems. It's often used for things that have gone astray from their intended purpose. Similar words, errant, straying from the proper course or standards, e.g., the errant golf ball shattered the window. Unruly, disorderly and difficult to control, e.g. the unruly crowd had to be dispersed. Wayward, difficult to control or predict because of unusual or perverse behaviour, e.g. her wayward son often got into trouble. Wild, not domesticated or cultivated, living in a natural, untamed state. By extension, lacking discipline or restraint, e.g. the party got a bit wild. Preen, verb, meaning of a bird, tidying clean its feathers with its beak. By extension, congratulate or pride oneself. Example, Brenda, resplendent in a floral apron, was preening over her lemon drizzle, which looked decidedly smug. Explanation, this describes the act of tidying oneself up or showing off with excessive self-satisfaction. Brenda is admiring herself and her creation. Similar words, strut, walk with a stiff, erect and apparently arrogant or conceited gait, e.g. he strutted around the office after his promotion. Flaunt, display something ostentatiously, especially in order to provoke envy or admiration, e.g. she likes to flaunt her wealth. Show off, to display one's abilities or accomplishments in an ostentatious way, e.g. he was always trying to show off in front of the girls. Stoop, verb, meaning lower one's moral standards to do something reprehensible. Example, who else would stoop so low? Explanation, this implies a lowering of one's dignity or moral principles to do something that is considered shameful or beneath them. Similar words, condescend, show feelings of superiority, be patronizing, e.g. he never condescends to his employees. Debase, reduce in quality or value, degrade, e.g. the film debased the memory of the brave soldiers. Degrade, treat or regard someone with contempt or disrespect, e.g. don't degrade yourself by arguing with him. Audacity, noun, meaning the willingness to take bold risks, often used with a negative connotation for rudeness or disrespect. Example, the audacity. Explanation, in this context it expresses outrage at someone's impudence or extreme rudeness, especially in acting without shame or fear. Similar words, impudence, the quality of being impudent, impertinence, e.g. her impudence shocked her elders. Insolence, rudeness and lack of respect, e.g. he was fired for his insolence towards his boss. Gumption, informal, shrewd or spirited initiative and resourcefulness, can be positive but can also be used for a bold, almost cheeky attitude, e.g. it took a lot of gumption to stand up to him. Brazenness, bold and without shame, e.g. the brazenness of his lie was astonishing. Quiver, verb, meaning tremble or shake with a slight rapid motion. Example, Brenda began, her voice quivering with controlled fury. Explanation, this describes a slight shaking movement, often due to emotion like anger, fear or excitement. Similar words, tremble, shake involuntarily, typically as a result of anxiety, excitement or frailty, e.g. his hands began to tremble with nervousness. Shudder, tremble convulsively, typically as a result of fear or revulsion, e.g. she shuddered at the thought of the cold water. Vibrate, move rhythmically and energetically, e.g. the phone vibrated in his pocket. Shiver, of a person or animal, trembles slightly and uncontrollably as a result of being cold or frightened, e.g. she shivered as the cold wind blew. Feign, verb, meaning pretend to be affected by a feeling, state or injury. Example, Brenda, feigning innocence with the skill of a seasoned theatrical performer, fluttered her eyelashes. Explanation, this means to pretend or simulate something, often to deceive. Similar words, pretend, speak and act so as to make it appear that something is the case when it is not, e.g. he pretended not to hear her. Simulate, imitate the appearance or character of, e.g., the machine simulates the conditions of space. Falsify, alter information or evidence so as to mislead, e.g., he was accused of falsifying documents. Sham, informal, a thing that is not what it is purported to be, as a verb to fake, e.g., he was just shamming illness to avoid work. Resplendent, adjective, meaning attractive and impressive through being richly colourful or sumptuous. Example, Brenda, resplendent in a floral apron, was preening over her lemon drizzle. Explanation. This describes something or someone looking very splendid, brilliant or magnificent, often due to being richly adorned or colourful. Similar words, splendid, magnificent and impressive, e.g., the palace was truly splendid. Magnificent, impressively beautiful, elaborate or extravagant. Striking, e.g., the magnificent view from the mountain. Dazzling, of a light, so bright as to blind a person or their eyes temporarily. By extension, extremely impressive, beautiful or skillful, e.g., she wore a dazzling array of jewels. Gorgeous, very beautiful or attractive, e.g., she looked gorgeous in her new dress. Scoff, verb, meaning speak to someone or about something in a scornful, derisive or mocking way. Example, Jerry scoffed, I found a lemon drizzle crumb in my basket. Explanation. To scoff is to express contempt or disdain, often with a dismissive or mocking sound or tone. Similar words, sneer, a contemptuous or mocking smile, remark or tone, e.g., he sneered at her attempts to help. Deride, express contempt for, ridicule, e.g., critics derided the film as a predictable flop. Mock, tease or laugh at in a scornful or contemptuous manner, e.g., they mocked his country accent. Ridicule, the subjection of someone or something to contemptuous and dismissive language or behaviour, e.g., she was subjected to ridicule for her unusual ideas. Propelled, verb, meaning drive, push or cause to move in a particular direction. Example, Jerry, propelled by a surge of adrenaline usually reserved for escaping runaway supermarket trolleys, decided on a stealthy approach. Explanation. This means to be pushed or driven forward, often by a strong force or motivation. Similar words, driven, of a person, determined to achieve success. As a verb, to be strongly motivated, e.g., he was driven by ambition. Impelled, drive, force or urge someone to do something, e.g., he felt impelled to tell the truth. Pushed, exert force on someone or something in order to move them away from oneself or the origin of the force, e.g., she pushed the door open. Motivated, provided with a motive for doing something, e.g., he was highly motivated to succeed. Formidable, adjective, meaning inspiring fear or respect through being impressively large, powerful, intense or capable. Example, Mrs. Higginbottom wielding a pair of formidable garden shears. Explanation. This describes something or someone that is impressively powerful, intimidating or challenging. The shears are described this way to emphasize Mrs. Higginbottom's sternness and the potential danger. Similar words, intimidating, frightening or threatening to someone, e.g., he found the task intimidating. Redoubtable, of a person, formidable, especially as an opponent, e.g., he was a redoubtable debater. Dreadful, causing or involving great suffering, fear or unhappiness, extremely bad or serious, e.g., the weather was dreadful. Awesome, extremely impressive or daunting, e.g., the view from the mountain was awesome. Squawked, verb, meaning of a bird or person, make a loud, harsh or shrill noise, Example, "Steal?" Jerry squawked, swinging slightly. Explanation. This describes a harsh, loud and often high-pitched sound like a bird's cry, used here to show Jerry's outrage. Similar words. Shriek. Utter a high-pitched piercing sound or words, especially as an expression of terror, pain or excitement. E.g., she shrieked in terror. Screech. Give a loud, harsh, piercing cry. E.g., the tires screeched as the car turned the corner. Yell. Shout something in a loud, sharp way. E.g., he yelled at the children to stop. Bellow. Of a person or animal. Emit a deep, loud roar, typically in pain or anger. E.g., the sergeant bellowed orders at the recruits. Vindicated. Adjective. From vindication. Meaning cleared of blame or suspicion. Example, Jerry, despite her undignified display, felt a profound sense of satisfaction. Her tarts were gone, yes, but justice, in the form of a very satisfied badger, had been served, and next year she'd be bringing a badger-proof picnic basket. Explanation. While the exact word vindicated isn't in the final sentence, the feeling of vindication is strongly implied. Vindication is the action of clearing someone of blame or suspicion. Jerry was vindicated when the badger was revealed to be the culprit, proving she wasn't lying about the missing tarts or Brenda's involvement, indirectly. Similar words to vindicate. Verb. Exonerate. Absolve someone from blame for a fault or wrongdoing, especially after due consideration of the case. E.g., the report exonerated the team from any wrongdoing. Acquit. Free someone from a criminal charge by a verdict of not guilty. E.g., the jury acquitted him of the murder. Clear. Free from blame or suspicion. E.g., the evidence cleared him of the crime. Absolve. Set or declare someone free from blame, guilt or responsibility. E.g., the priest absolved him of his sins. Story written by Gemini AI. Image created by Gemini AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you.
Hello, this is Steve. If you enjoyed the story, please would you take the time to leave a meaningful comment and click on the like icon. If you want to know when the next story has been uploaded, please click on the notify bell icon to be notified. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and tell your English learning friends so they can benefit too. Thank you.